Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new series of cancer that we have recently announced on our YouTube channel and our podcast. Hi, Sushant, good morning.
Good morning.
So, today, folks, we will be taking this series in a short span of time. We will be doing some 1 to 5 minutes videos on for this is for all those people who have been battling with cancers, for all those people whose family members they have seen that they are battling with the cancer. And for this information is very much useful for them because we will be sharing all the scientific information around the cancer care, awareness about how cancer occurs, and everything that you need to know as a cancer guide for a cancer guide, right? So, Sushant, let us begin the discussion. The first
Sure.
question for the day today is that everybody is talking about that cancer is caused by genetic mutations, right? And time and again in our post, in your post, we have actually shared the scientific facts bearing that it is not the exact cause. Somewhere there is a reason behind a genetic mutation, right? So let us shed some light on this fact that how cancer is caused, and let
Mhm.
us educate the audience about the facts, facts bearing scientific evidence.
Okay. So for years, we have been given to believe that the cancer is caused by somatic mutation theory, SMT, and before that, what are somatic cells? Somatic cells are those which are not germ cells or which are not egg cells. So every somatic cells have two set of chromosomes, which we inherit from both our parents, right? And again, people have been given to believe that there are certain overexpression of proton cogenes and underexpression of tumor suppressant genes is what is causing cancer, right? And a lot of it has been a driver gene mutation is found responsible for most of the cancers, right? And there's a reason there is a wrong information, and it's entirely a financial model by a lot of uh, DNA testing companies, right? And even hospitals where we are uh, focusing on genetic testing to see or to see the mutations, and then we say, these are the reasons for cancer, and then we adopt a personalized therapeutic therapies approach to eliminate those mutations. So that has been a way, and over years we have seen, over last 5 years we have seen, the number of cancer cases increasing day by day, right? And again, uh, and there's no solutions right now, right? And so this is one of the reasons why there have been a lot of research going on, and what it has been found that that cancer is not the caused by genetic mutation, but genetic mutation is in downstream effect of your downstream epiphenomenon of damaged respiration, right? So we all know that in our cells there is a nucleus, there's cytoplasm. In cytoplasm we have mitochondria, right? And mitochondria is responsible for producing ATP, right? So essentially, we all respire, right? We all generate energy when we breathe. We generate energy, and the byproducts are obviously carbon dioxide and water. The water is moisture. When every time we are breathing right now, it's also sort of generation of energy, right? So that's a normal way. So mitochondria is the kill switch. So essentially, it regulates this cell cycle. It uh helps in elimination of sick cells or dead cells and death cells, and that's how cell cycle. We regulate the cell cycle, and we make sure that we have healthy cells and not the sick cells. So essentially, when there's no mitochondria, when there is an for oxidative phosphorylation insufficiency, which is what is called damaged respiration. So there's no mitochondrial. It is caused by mitochondrial dysfunction, right? So if you're not able to produce energy, it is the mitochondrial dysfunction which is causing it. And again, the root cause of cancer is the mitochondrial dysfunction, right? So instead of ATP, it produces ROS, reactive oxygen species, right? ROS is mutagenic and carcinogenic in nature. It damages your DNA, lipid, proteins, RNA, everything, and that's what causes your genes mutations, right? So essentially, genes mutation is the after effect of mitochondrial dysfunction, right? So this is one of the most important aspect, and I'll share a few things here, right? So if you see this research paper, right, again, this is written by a famous genetic professor of Boston College, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, and it clearly mentions that, in certain cancer situation, in one third of the cancer situation, the 210 cancer were sequenced. Out of that, in 73 cancer situation, there was no genes mutations, zero, right? So these mutations could not be a reason for, how do you explain that, right? And
You
second
need to
thing,
say, what you are trying to say is that genetic mutation is not the only reason for the occurrence of cancer, right?
genetic mutation is not the reason. Genetic
Not the
mutation is
reason.
the after effect of, uh, after effect of damaged respiration or mitochondrial dysfunction. Okay.
Damaged mitochondrial
Yeah,
dysfunction.
yeah. So
Yeah.
again, as I mentioned, driver gene mutation is it has been believed as per somatic mutation theory that driver gene mutation is the cause for responsible for a lot of cancer. But if you see here, there were a lot of driver gene mutation found in normal cells which were not cancerous, right? The thing is that these first thing, these are after effect, these are not the root cause, right? Root cause is uh, mitochondrial dysfunction and damaged respiration, right? And we have seen by this, out of one third of the cases, cancer cases which are sequenced had no genetic mutations, right? So again, these are established research, peer-reviewed research done. So essentially, this has been busted now. Now the question is, if that is the case, how do cancer cells grow, right? So any cancer cell to grow needs carbon and nitrogen, right? And again, they resort to fermentation. Again, fermentation is an ancient pathway 2.5 billion years ago when there were no humans, there were organisms, there were no oxygen in the environment. So they used to ferment and grow. So what do they ferment? They ferment glucose and glutamine. Glucose is provided by, so it provides carbon and glutamine obviously provide nitrogen. So
So, I think, Sushant, what you're trying to say here is that the fermentation of these metabolites, the glucose and the glutamine pathways, right? So, somewhere this is primary responsible for the cancerous situations, and obviously the fermentation of these cells, which are not able to release oxygen when there is a lot of carbon dioxide accumulation in the cells. That is
no, no,
the
so no,
primary
no, no,
reasons.
no, 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 no. The primary reason is obviously oxidase, damaged respiration, which is mitochondrial dysfunction. So what causes mitochondrial
Okay.
dysfunction? There are a number of factors. Tumor promoting inflammation, carcinogenic molecules we are consuming, environmental toxin, oxidative stress, certain viruses, right? So majorly, inflammation, chronic inflammation, right,
Hmm.
which damages your mitochondria, right? So mitochondria instead of ATP produces ROS, right? And again, ROS
Hmm.
is reactive oxygen species which damage your DNA. So that is how you have genetic mutations, right? So ideally that is so understand this, that if there is no ATP, then cell should die, right? Because
Right.
there is no energy. But again, cancer cells are growing. Why they're growing? Because they cannot respire, so they are fermenting, right? So
Mhm.
in a low oxygen environment or hypoxia environment, right? I think we have discussed this earlier also, that in case of low oxygen environment, these cancer cells start growing and they ferment glucose and glutamine, right? So
Mm.
essentially, your nutrition choices have a major role to play. If you are in a cancerous situation, if you have developed cancer, your nutrition choices is something which drives your cancer growth, right?
Mm, mm, mm.
This is something to understand. So another thing, I'll probably share something which will give more clarity, right? So if you could see this diagram, right? Uh,
Mhm.
if we have normal mitochondria, normal nucleus, so we have genes in nucleus. So essentially, they are normal cells. If we have normal mitochondria and tumor cell nucleus, again normal cells, normal growth, right? If we have tumor cell mitochondria, probably mitochondrial dysfunction, right? And tumor cell nucleus, so again tumor cells. If you have tumor cell mitochondria and normal cell nucleus, it is again tumor cells or death, right? And again, this is come from a research. And again, another thing important to understand here is that there is a genomic heterogeneity in different tumor cells, right? So essentially, if you have multiple tumor cells in primary tumors, there will be a different genetic mutation. In secondary, there will be different genetic mutations, right? Even if you use targeted therapies, it may kill certain mutations. Certain would bypass, right? So essentially, genetic mutation is so heterogeneous. So it would be different in cancer cell, different organ or different organs in the same patient, right? So you may adopt a immunotherapy or a targeted therapy for a particular gene mutations, but again, that may kill a particular cancer cell, and there will be other genetic mutations in other cancer cells which will not be targeted. Again, they will bypass. So that is something which is very, very important to understand, right? So to sum up, all DNA testing, just knowing that, for instance, if someone is a risk of breast cancer, so BRCA1 gene doesn't mean, you have breast cancer, right? So there has to be this causes this the mutation for that particular gene, which causes cancer, which is assumed said to be causing. Actually, the reason is mitochondrial dysfunction, which leads to genetic mutation, right, of this particular gene, which may cause breast cancer, right? So that is something very, very important to understand, right? So here, to sum up, genetic mutation does not cause cancer. It is an after effect of damaged respiration, or what we call as mitochondrial dysfunction, or damaged oxidative phosphorylation. So how do those cells grow? They ferment. What they ferment? They ferment glucose and glutamine, right? So
Mm,
again,
mm, mm.
they ferment, they grow, and again, metastatic stage we will discuss in a different discussion, but just to consume, because it will be too much for one call, right? But to understand, your inflammation cause inside your body, whether it is gut microbiome, oral microbiome, or whatever way is called systemic inflammation, which damages your mitochondria. Mitochondria produces ROS instead of ATP. ROS damages your DNA, RNA, and you have those mutations. Your mitochondria is dysfunctional, so it cannot control the cell cycle. Cells starts grow. How do they grow? They ferment, right? They
Mm,
ferment
mm, mm.
using glucose and glutamine as fermentable fuels, right? And these
Okay.
fuels produces certain byproducts such as lactic acid and succinic acid and pentose phosphate, which again further damages your oxidative phosphorylation process, and it
Mm, mm.
also makes the chemotherapies and radiation therapy ineffective, right? So
Okay, so from what this discussion I have understood that ideally, I mean, obviously we will be covering further topics, but just in a nutshell, that the approach should be to first address the root cause of the
yeah.
fermentation.
So
I
when
mean,
you
you
talk
should
of,
be able to stop the fermentation process from happening inside the body, right? And here I think nitric oxide will play a role if the nitric oxide transport is
so,
well
so-
established in the body. So I think
Mhm.
that could
That is one of
stop
the
the
reason, but
fermentation process.
let's not discuss that right now, because that is something which will get into too much deep into science, and it will be too much to consume right now, right? So essentially, to understand that, when you talk of early detection of cancer, which a lot of companies are saying we can early detect oral cancer or whatever cancers, right? So
Mm,
they are seeing genetic mutations or certain, you know, observable symptoms by physical examination. For instance, if you have oral lesions in mouth, right? So they will say you have oral cancer, but not necessary, because it can be benign or it cannot be malignant, right? So essentially, it could be some pulps or polyps or pulps, inside the mouth, right? So essentially, it could be ulcer, right? So ideally, the best way if you really want to detect cancer is you have to understand the molecular mechanism of the pathways which are leading to mitochondrial dysfunction. It could be tumor promoting inflammation, it could be cancer cells metabolism, it could be sulfur metabolism, it could be so certain correlation with the number of cancers, obviously obesity and type 2 diabetes, right? Or high blood pressure. These are independent risk factors. And so obviously, as you mentioned, the nitric oxide and nitric oxide plays a role in regulating our blood sugar response and vasodilation. So it has a role to play. That's a different discussion we will do, because nitric oxide actually control your electron transport chain, and which is required for your ATP production. But again, that is something we'll get too much into different discussion altogether. So let us not discuss that, right? Probably that we will take up in the next session. But here to just to close the discussion, DNA testing does not tell you anything. It is just waste of money. Early detection of cancer, most of the cancer are detected on physical examination or again genetic mutation, which does not go to the root cause, right? And again, the solution for prevention of cancer is obviously preventing the fermentation, as you rightly said. So probably, the therapeutic nutritional therapeutics could actually promote promote mitochondrial biogenesis of healthier cells, could promote oxidative phosphorylation and suppress fermentation or substrate level phosphorylation, what we call as, right? So to sum up, genes are not responsible for your cancer, and it's a wrong notion what we have. Yeah.
So I think this is a very breakthrough statement that you've given here for the cancers, for all the cancer patients, because as of now, everybody, almost 90% of the healthcare practitioners across the world, they are saying the same thing. It's just the somatic mutation theory that they have been, uh,
Mm.
you know, the whatever research that they have done around the somatic mutation theory, that is the only thing responsible for cancer. So I think, thank you, Sushant, for
Mm.
shedding light on such a breakthrough in terms of cancer. And so folks, we will be back with another episode. We will be covering the other aspects of cancer, and tuned to our series of podcasts and discussions here on YouTube. So thank you, Sushant.
Yeah, and I will also share the link to the research paper for everyone to read if someone is
That we
interested.
will be sharing the link in the description for anyone to read, because most of the people, they will ask what is the scientific evidence. So here the evidence will be is already provided in the description. Thank you.
Thank you.